I am Kolo Toure and you are watching the Redmen TV.
Right, okay, so this is the starting team against Carlisle in the Capital One Cup. Went for Adam Bogdan in goal, Emre Can, Martin Skittle, Dejan Lovren, Nathaniel Klein, James Milner, the bearded one himself, Alberto Moreno, Roberto Firmino, Adam Lallana and Danny Ings. Now we were talking, weren't we, just before the break about Liverpool changing formations too often. So we started off with the one up top and the two, which was different to what we started the previous game again. And now I know there's a lot of personnel that have changed as well. It's a stronger side than most Liverpool fans would have expected. But then we obviously brought a Regi on. Who did we bring a Regi on for again? Firmino, yeah. And then we went to like this crazy... We stuck at that for a little bit, didn't we?
Yeah.
And then if you pick up from where you were talking about changing formations too many times.
So to start with, you're kind of thinking the Benteke injury is thrown off. So I don't want to see like I'm making excuses for Rodgers because I think we are changing formations too much. But we had two up top against Norwich. Benteke goes and gets injured, and he's obviously decided that Sturridge isn't going to play a part in this game. It's too early for him. So other than starting with a Regi and Ings up front to stick with the two up, he's decided no, he wasn't going to go with Regi. He wants to get Firmino in there.
Playing devil's advocate to that.
So it necessarily.
Why couldn't he have just done that?
Why not? Do you know what? Right,
and he could have done this in the Norwich game.
I was
as well.
made up when we bought him because it was a Brazilian international. He was doing well in the Copa America at the time, and it was a big money sign. It was exactly what we needed. Again, maybe hubris and naivety from a Liverpool fan. We don't know that much about him.
No,
I don't know that much about him.
I know he's been disappointing.
And I know he's been disappointing. I'd actually like to try and find someone from Hoffenheim to actually ask, what did he do? What type of player was he? Because we saw he was leading the line for Brazil. And then for Hoffenheim, did he play up there a lot? Did not? Because we think, as Liverpool fans who talk about it, that he can do that. But
he can because he's not doing that for Brazil. And he's scoring goals for Brazil.
But he's not done that, and I don't know why we haven't done that. But yeah, so instead we went like this. And what happened was these two were quite interchangeable.
Yeah.
So he was popping up over here a lot, but he actually got injured here. So yet again, a slight little bit of defence on the need to necessitate to change your formation. He has an injury before half time. It's substitution. That's very early. That he didn't obviously. Game plays out the way you want it to. It's not going to be how you'd imagine.
Mm-hmm.
So Regi comes on pretty much after they scored. So Firmino was down for quite a while. He went up for a header and landed really heavy.
Yeah, it was a bad one.
And then he played on for a bit, and then obviously he just waved to the bench and said, "It's time for me to come off." So Regi come on. So for the first half, Regi did kind of what Firmino was doing. So he wasn't right up with Ings. So he was interchanging with Lallana and he was running, not as much as Firmino, but he was more on this side. And then second half, he kind of went a bit further up. Now, I wouldn't say it was as much as a 2. He was still dropping deep and pulling wide a bit, but it was a lot more forward than that. And he wasn't getting any joy because at that point they kind of figured us out. And he knew what our game plan was, which was to have lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of shots off target. Which I don't...
let's say that's their goal.
From anywhere you could see the goal.
Yeah.
Basically, if you could see the goal, have a shot.
I mean, Martin Skittle even got in on you, didn't he?
With possibly the worst shot I've ever seen in my life.
I don't know. Do you remember Lucas shooting?
Yeah, I suppose. So yeah, but the only saving grace for that was Lucas wasn't in the team because we'd have seen him shooting. So we played that for a bit and it became very, very congested because obviously these bomb on a lot.
Yeah.
So you've got a lot of players here and they were happy they'd got their goal. Their fans were singing for penalties from about the 60th minute. So you knew exactly what they want, and that's no discredit to them. As apparently, I think someone heard that. It wasn't mentioned a lot, but are they 60 odd places below?
64 places. It was mentioned every 6.5 minutes on the stream that I was watching.
So yeah, so then the next thing that they did was they brought in the
Tino Fallon?
Yeah, they brought in the main man. You know, what now should he be the main man? Something we were talking about before, is he broad enough to do that? So then that basically meant that we went to something along the lines of that.
Which is another new formation for us.
Which is completely new. It's not
this one we'll
seen.
call... The Stickman.
The Stickman, yeah.
The Milner
Hangman.
Stickman.
But And again, you'd say that it was that because it probably was that if you have to do something like this. But ultimately, average positions and the way we were controlling the ball, everyone, it was just sort of a mess. It was just like a chaos of players taking shots and players in blue shirts just running around and getting in their way. And the amount of times that like Lallana or Coutinho or Origi had the ball and then they'd just run around this area and you'd be like, lay it off. No, okay, you've gone to, they'd turn and play it to someone else and then that person would run into like, and they were just getting blocked. And
it was pretty embarrassing for me.
Yeah, it looked clueless. It looked like they got one attack. And it's like, do you know when you play, it's only play like a fighting game on a computer, you're playing like Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter and you only know one special move and you're just going to basically just batter that special move the whole time. They were like, oh, we've got an idea, we're going to do Hadoukens all game and surely we can beat Carlisle with them. Oh fuck, they know how to defend that. Keep doing it. And there was,
get through.
Yeah, there was a moment where like, you think like the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. And we looked insane and they were driving the fans insane last night because you just needed something different. You needed a bit of spark, which you would expect spark to come from these players.
Yeah.
But it didn't happen.
No, so we ended up bringing...
So then this was the logical change. This was the one where, Joe, you've got time to go. It looks like everyone wanted to go home. No one wanted it to go to extra time. You're looking at the bench and the bench is relatively like bare because it was a cup game and you rested a few players. And this one, you go, oh, okay, that one makes sense. So I understand that because it doesn't necessarily change the formation. It means he plays a lot further forward.
Yeah, it did.
But it shouldn't. Klein's playing that right winger position who's bombing on, and the amount of possession, he's just better at doing that, you'd imagine. But what actually happened was because of the sheer ground that they'd conceded and the amount of possession, he kind of played about there. And then, like it was.
And they were just swipping back.
And everyone, and like he never got as far as over there, but he was literally
really fucking got me down about the game. Is like, look, I spoke last week and I was quite positive about Liverpool's performance against Norwich because ultimately we were playing, whether they're newly promoted or not, they deserve to be in the Premier League. And if you're a team in the Premier League, and if you're good enough to get into the Premier League, you're good enough to beat anybody in that league, in my opinion, because it's happened for the last 20 years or so. The difference is we are playing a team who are in the 4th division of English football, who have done their homework on us and know how to stop us. And they probably weren't even preparing for the first team. And let's be honest, this is pretty much the first team at Liverpool. With there's no Jordan Rossiter's in there. There's no Joe Gomez's in there, young kids and stuff. We probably expected to see the likes of Brannigan and stuff, and maybe Sinclair. We've not seen that. If it's not the first team, it's the first team squad, definitely in the match and the proper match day squad. And the fact is, they've come in and gone, we'll just sit at Anfield and do what every other team's done at Anfield this season so far, make it fucking difficult for us. And the fact that Brendan Rodgers is found out by a fucking Keith Curle, a 4th division manager, can work out Brendan Rodgers' tactics and know how to stop them with players of the likes of, Phil Coutinho's probably worth more just on his own on the 8 million than they've paid for their entire fucking team. You know what I mean? And Keith Curle, anyone from the 90s who was watching football, he was a shit player. He's managing in the 4th division. He's probably a shit fucking manager. Can work out how fucking Brendan Rodgers' teams work.
Yeah.
That's fucking damning.
And then there's anxiety hits in as well. And then you're completely right. So it would have had some level of structure. Possibly it had gone by the time I came on. Yeah. But there'd have been some level of structure where we didn't know what to change it. And you can argue, like, change the formation 15 times in a match. And if you're still doing the same stuff, like
it's irrelevant.
It's irrelevant what the formation is, and that's the problem. At the moment, he's making tactical and substitution changes that have no bearing on the flow of the game.
Well, that's it. I mean, Rodgers has always talked about this, hasn't he? Is that plan B is to do plan A better. But actually, when plan A's just not worked for 4 games, you actually do need a bit of a plan B. Yeah. In the past, it might have been like lumping it up to Peter Crouch or something. I actually feel that they probably dealt with that a little bit better, Carlisle, because that's probably something that they're used to dealing with. But it's just not good enough, man.
No.
You know, you can have 46, 47 shots against Carlisle, but they're letting us take 20, 25, 30 of those shots from outside the area.
And again, because like what it would have ended up by the end, he kind of stepped into the mid.
Yeah.
He was bombing on a lot. Coutinho was pulling out to here a lot. He was around here. And you kind of had something like this, which is...
At this point, I think I'd given up.
Which is just madness. Because there's too many players. And when you've got basically 10 Carlisle players here, 5 there, and like 4 here, 5 there, or whatever it works out at, you're looking at it and you're like, well, okay, there's just no space. And a lot of times, we've got players who like to run with the ball. Yeah. This fella likes to run with the ball. He does. He's looking like he's someone who likes to run with the ball. And they were running into each other, and no one was making the correct move. Ings tired because he was doing all the running in the first half on his own, and up front in the movement, and it just resulted into pot shots. And like you said to me this morning, even this fella, the ball's falling to him and he's shooting. And you're like, well, A, you don't want the ball falling to him and him shooting, but also it shouldn't. Even if you've got for the best will in the world, if you've got a centre-back who's great at shooting, against the team, let's take the team out the equation. Anytime at home, you don't want to be relying on your centre-half shooting from outside the box to win the match. Yeah. But when it's against the team...
Bogdan could have got in on the act, like, and he did, in fairness to him later on in a different way.
And when it's a team that's that low down below you, and like you say, they're not as good. There's
their tactics board probably looks something like this.
Yeah.
You know, that's where we're at here. They're not using fucking iPads and stuff down there in League Two. Do you know what I mean? They're probably using the back of this. we actually share it with Carlisle. We get it couriered. TNT. You know this. I've completely lost my trail of thought now because I've just started talking absolute fucking biff. You know what though? I'm absolutely fucking raging on that performance last night, and I think it's fucking shocking the way that Liverpool have come out of that game. And so we're going to move on to Aston Villa and what Aston Villa have done in their last couple of games. Hopefully a team lower down the division than us, we might actually get some joy and, God forbid, some fucking goals. Right, okay, we've set up how Aston Villa set up, actually, in their 3-2 defeat 2 games ago in the Premier League against Leicester. Now, they went for Brad Guzan goal, Alan Hutton, Mika Richards, Julian Lescott, Amavi, Carlos Gil, Westwood, Sanchez, Grealish, Sinclair and Agbonlahor.